This is the difference between clocking a 4.340 or a 4.7 40-yard dash. If you want to get faster, you need to go outside and sprint, is what I would say if it was that simple. And if it was that simple, you wouldn't have clicked on this video. When we see athletes like Tyreek, Noah Lyles, and Kylian Mbappe, they are one of, if not the fastest athletes in their sport. They are world-class athletes, especially when it comes to speed. But all of that is not natural speed that came out of nowhere. They had to put in the work to get where they are right now. And I'm about to tell you how you can do that as well. This is the difference between clocking a 4.340 or a 4.7 40-yard dash. And if you want to get faster, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, as that helps me keep growing and make videos like this. When it comes to sprinting, it can be broken down into 3 phases: the acceleration, the transition, and the max velocity phase. But today, we're only going to focus on the acceleration and the max velocity phase. The acceleration is the start of the sprint. This is when the athlete has a forward lean and they're really digging into the ground while they're running. During this phase, the athlete is trying to be as explosive as possible to pick up speed as quick as possible. This usually lasts up to about 30 meters. The faster an athlete can accelerate, the quicker they can get to max velocity. And as you guessed it, max velocity is when an athlete hits their top speed and they're in an upright position while running. When an athlete gets to this part of the sprint, they're putting out max effort and trying to maintain it as long as possible. Sports are simple, man, and we all know speed kills, because when we simplify things, we're trying to get somewhere faster than our opponent can get there. That can be running after a ball, getting to the end zone, or finishing strong on a fast break. But in order to do this, we need to be able to accelerate and have great max velocity. But how do we develop these skills exactly? In this systematic review and meta-analysis, they reviewed the effects of resisted, assisted, and combined resisted-assisted on acceleration and max velocity. This included sleds, parachutes, uphill slope, towing devices, and downhill slope. So let's start with the acceleration phase. As we know, the acceleration phase is the initial part of the sprint process, and a very explosive phase where the athlete is trying to get up to max velocity as quick as possible. So one of the best ways to develop the acceleration phase is to do some form of resistance sprint training. In fact, when an athlete did resisted sprint training, this study found a significant decrease in the first 10 meters of a sprint. But when getting deeper into the acceleration phase, there was no significant difference around the 20-meter mark when compared to normal sprint training. But it is important to note that the resisted sprint training in this meta-analysis was combined with strength training, which is also what played a role in increased acceleration for the athletes. I'd say one of the best forms of resistant sprint training to improve acceleration are sled sprints. Sled sprints start you in a forward-leaning position that is similar to the initial start of an athlete's sprint, and it forces you to produce more force than usual. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for max velocity, as this meta-analysis found no significant difference when it came to max velocity, which tells us that resisted sprint training is no better than normal sprint training if you're trying to improve top-end speed. But what did show a significant improvement for max velocity is assisted sprint training. Assisted sprint training is usually done on a downhill slope hill or with a towing device. Assisted sprint training is really good for max velocity because it forces an athlete to run faster than they usually would. But what if I told you there's a form of sprint workouts that can help you improve acceleration and max velocity at the same time? What I'm talking about is downhill and uphill sprint workouts. An uphill sprint is great for acceleration because you're forced to start in a forward-leaning position while having to explode every step up the hill. The downhill sprints are perfect because it's a form of overspeed training. Something to note though, there aren't too many studies on this topic, but there are studies that do exist, which use students in one study and experienced athletes in another. And they all saw improvement in their acceleration and max velocity. Okay, so today we learned about 2 major parts of the sprint process. Now it's time to start implementing them into a workout. When it comes to acceleration training, there are a lot of different modalities that you can do, but in my opinion, I'd say it's best to do sled sprint training. And if this is something you are new to, I recommend starting with what you can handle and then adjusting from there. In terms of the workout, I recommend loading up about 25% of your body weight and doing about 4 to 6 sprints for about 10 to 15 yards. After each sprint, rest about 90 seconds, then go right into the next one. For training for max velocity, I do understand everyone doesn't have a towing system, so this will be for downhill sprint training. So if you can find a hill in your neighborhood or at a park at about a 3 to 5% grade, then you'll be in a great spot. I recommend doing about 3 to 6 reps sprinting downhill for about 30 to 80 meters and then resting for about 90 seconds. When you are doing downhill sprints, you want to be as safe as possible while teaching your body to run faster. So remember to do your best to keep an upright torso and not lean too far back, as that will apply unnecessary stress on your body. Now, when you are looking to improve max velocity and acceleration, my recommendations for downhill sprints stay the same, but when it comes to uphill sprints, you want a grade of about 4 to 8%. On these sprints, we want to go max effort, so let's try not to sprint for more than 8 seconds uphill if possible. I recommend doing about 3 to 6 reps of these sprints, then resting about 90 seconds before going right into the next one. So now that you guys have the science and the workout, I want you to go out there and try it for yourself, especially if you're an athlete and trying to get faster and get to the next level. If you stayed this long, subscribe and drop a like so you can catch the next video. And if you like this video or have a question, drop a comment down below.
Like and subscribe.